The film opens with a young woman named Ellen Hutter experiencing a harrowing dream. In this vision, she strikes a bargain with a powerful and malevolent entity known as Nosferatu. Following the agreement, the demon, who is also a vampire, shares an intimate moment with her before tightening his grip around her throat, completing the act of possession. Suddenly, Ellen wakes with a start, realizing it was merely a nightmare. Her husband, Thomas, notices her distress and embraces her, reassuring her that everything is all right. The story unfolds in 1838, in Germany. In a hurry to meet his employer, Hernock, Thomas bids farewell to Ellen and departs for work. Still disturbed by her dream, Ellen remains preoccupied with its unsettling imagery. At the office, Thomas apologizes to Hernock for his tardiness. Hernock congratulates him on his recent marriage before presenting him with a business proposition. He instructs Thomas to arrange the sale of a house in Wisburg to an enigmatic and reclusive gentleman by the name of Count Orlok. Eager to advance his career, Thomas readily agrees to the task. Later that day, Thomas informs Ellen of his impending journey to meet Count Orlok. Ellen is immediately perturbed and pleads with him not to go. She recounts a dreadful dream she had before their wedding, in which she saw herself wedded to death, surrounded by lifeless boys as guests. Despite her terror, Thomas soothes her fears, dismissing the dream as mere fantasy and insisting the journey is necessary for their future. The following morning, Thomas takes Ellen to stay with his affluent friend, Friedrich Harding, while he is away. He reassures her once more, promising there is nothing to be afraid of. That night, Ellen endures another nightmare in which Nosferatu strengthens their sinister pact. The next morning, just before Thomas sets off, Ellen gives him her necklace, unaware that she has unknowingly fulfilled one of Nosferatu's conditions by placing a strand of her hair inside it. After a long and arduous journey, Thomas arrives in Transylvania. The villagers initially welcome him warmly, but their demeanor soon shifts, and they begin to laugh in an eerie manner. The village elder reprimands them for their behavior but warns Thomas against engaging with Count Orlok. Ignoring the caution, Thomas bribes the elder into allowing him to remain for the night. That evening, an elderly woman hands Thomas a crucifix, advising him that he may need it. Later, he witnesses the villagers conducting a strange ritual, in which they pierce the body of a corpse they claim to be a vampire. Alarmed by the scene, Thomas retires for the night, determined to continue his journey the next morning. As he makes his way to the castle, a spectral carriage appears seemingly from nowhere. Though it has no visible driver, he bravely steps inside. The carriage speeds towards Count Orlok's mansion, with wolves running alongside it. Upon arriving at the ominous castle, Thomas is greeted by the unsettling and impatient Count. Orlok remarks upon Thomas's lateness and insists they dine together to swiftly finalize the property transaction. During their meal, Orlok offers Thomas a glass of wine. When Thomas inquires about the villagers' eerie warnings, Orlok dismisses them as mere folklore. As Thomas eats, he accidentally nicks his thumb, drawing blood. Orlok, drawn to the scent, begins behaving strangely. A creeping sense of dread washes over Thomas, but before he can react, Orlok reveals his monstrous nature and attacks. Meanwhile, back home, Ellen desperately attempts to warn her friend Anna of an impending evil. However, Anna dismisses her fears, believing Ellen to be imagining things. Unconscious, Thomas is trapped in a disturbing dream while Orlok compels him to sign a mysterious document inscribed with occult symbols. The vampire also seizes Thomas's locket containing Ellen's hair. After completing their deal, Orlok compensates Thomas with gold coins. Upon waking, Thomas requests to leave, but Orlok refuses, declaring his departure impossible. Soon after, Thomas notices strange puncture wounds on his chest and realizes that Orlok has been feeding on him. Determined to escape, he searches the castle, only to find all exits barred. Eventually, he stumbles upon a darkened stairway leading to the cellar. There, he discovers Orlok lying dormant within a coffin. Summoning his courage, Thomas attempts to strike the vampire with an axe, but Orlok awakens and halts him. Terrified, Thomas flees. Using Ellen's hair, Orlok casts a powerful spell. As he chants, Ellen, miles away, begins to feel the effects, her strength rapidly draining. Orlok's enchantment overpowers Thomas, forcing him to unbolt a locked door against his will. The vampire then seizes Thomas once more, feeding on him mercilessly. Following this, Orlok enacts a grim display of dominance, further tightening his hold over Thomas. Back at Friedrich's home, Ellen's condition deteriorates. She experiences convulsions and inexplicable symptoms, prompting Friedrich to summon Dr. Wilhelm. As the doctor examines her, Ellen moans in a trance-like state. Dr. Wilhelm administers a sedative, yet her health continues to decline. He eventually recommends transferring her to his mentor, Albin Eberhard von Franz, a renowned expert in the occult, based in Switzerland. Meanwhile, Thomas manages to escape the castle by leaping from a window, but he plunges into a river. A nun later discovers his unconscious body on the riverbank and carries him to a nearby church. She prays over him, and in time, Thomas regains consciousness. Back at Friedrich's residence, Ellen's seizures intensify, leaving Dr. Wilhelm at a loss. He warns that a sinister force is drawing near, deepening the growing sense of dread. As Thomas recovers in the sanctuary of the church, he realizes the ordeal is far from over. Though the nuns urge him to remain and recuperate, he refuses, insisting he must return to Wisburg to protect Ellen. Meanwhile, Count Orlok embarks on his own journey to Wisburg, transporting a coffin filled with grave soil and plague-ridden rats. Dr. Wilhelm and Friedrich arrived at Professor Albin's residence in Switzerland. Albin greeted them warmly and attentively listened as Wilhelm described Ellen's deteriorating condition. After assessing her case, Albin determined that Ellen was under the influence of Nosferatu, a demonic vampire responsible for spreading the plague. Attempting to treat her, Albin confronted the entity, challenging it to speak. In response, Ellen became possessed, and Orlok's voice emerged through her. She screamed for help, entirely losing control. Albin informed Friedrich that Ellen was cursed by a demonic force, though Wilhelm dismissed this as mere delusion. Friedrich believed her condition was a result of anxiety over Thomas's absence. Albin, however, remained firm in his belief and insisted on studying the entity further. He asked Anna to keep a vigilant watch over Ellen, instructing her to call for help should anything unusual occur. Thomas returned to Wisburg and admitted to Ellen that she had been right about her visions. However, he soon collapsed from exhaustion. At the same time, guards alerted Friedrich about a shipwreck. They led him to a peculiar vessel that had brought the plague to Wisburg, Orlok's ship. Orlok made his way to his new dwelling, where he was greeted by his servant, Nock. Nock knelt before him, and Orlok vowed to spread terror and despair across the land. The following day, the rats from the ship unleashed the plague upon Wisburg, resulting in numerous deaths. Ellen remained by Thomas's side as he grew critically ill. Anna visited Ellen, offering apologies for dismissing her concerns earlier. Meanwhile, Dr. Wilhelm and Albin examined a corpse recovered from Orlok's ship. They discovered that the rats were unnatural, infested with an evil force. Albin insisted they needed to locate Nock immediately, but he had already escaped. Orlok began chanting an incantation to expand his reign of darkness and despair. Thomas experienced a terrifying vision of Orlok and awoke in fear. Meanwhile, Anna descended the stairs and was horrified to witness Ellen behaving strangely. Ellen pleaded with Anna to stay the night, and Anna reluctantly agreed. At Albin's study, he shared his research on the vampire plague. That night, Ellen had another dream of Orlok, who attempted to deceive her by claiming that Thomas had exchanged her for gold and signed divorce papers. Ellen refused to believe him. Furious, Orlok threatened to kill Thomas if she disobeyed him. When Ellen awoke, she realized Orlok's power had already begun to consume Wisburg. His rats attacked Anna, leaving Ellen in horror. The plague spread rapidly, leading to Wisburg being placed under quarantine. Anna, now gravely ill, exhibited symptoms of the infection. Ellen screamed in anguish as the city descended into chaos. Friedrich remained with Ellen to console her but later suggested that she and Thomas should leave the city, fearing they might be aiding in the disease's spread. Ellen, deeply upset, reacted with anger at his accusation. Meanwhile, Albin uncovered an ominous symbol in Nock's abandoned quarters, a warning of Nosferatu's arrival. Ellen and Thomas returned home. Thomas implored Ellen to leave Wisburg with him, but she refused, stating that it was already too late. She confessed that she had inadvertently summoned the demon in her youth and had been bound to him ever since. She accused Thomas of valuing wealth over their safety, reminding him of the document he had signed for Orlok. As tensions flared, Ellen began convulsing and fell under Nosferatu's possession. Thomas recognized what was occurring and attempted to seek help, but Ellen prevented him. In her possessed state, Ellen seduced Thomas, compelling him to make love to her. Afterwards, she returned to herself, overwhelmed with confusion and fear. That night, Orlok slaughtered Friedrich's children to demonstrate his power. Devastated, Friedrich finally accepted the reality of Nosferatu's existence. Albin devised a strategy to destroy the vampire. He explained that Nosferatu could only be vanquished if a woman of pure heart willingly sacrificed herself. Ellen was the only one capable of fulfilling this fate. Mourning his family, Friedrich attempted to summon Nosferatu by using his wife's body. However, when the others arrived, they discovered that Friedrich had succumbed to the plague. His body, along with his wife's, was burned to prevent further contagion. The group resolved to execute their plan. Ellen lured Orlok to her chamber while the others located a coffin they believed to belong to him. Thomas pried open the coffin and drove a stake into the body inside, only to realize it was Nock, not Orlok. They had been deceived. Thomas raced back to rescue Ellen as Albin set fire to the crypt. At home, Ellen awaited Orlok, dressed in her wedding gown. As he arrived, she recited her vows, fully surrendering herself to him. She allowed him to feed upon her, engaging in a dark and terrible union. By dawn, Orlok began to weaken, realizing Ellen's sacrifice was destroying him. Racked with agony, he disintegrated into a lifeless husk. Ellen held him as he faded from existence. Thomas arrived to find Ellen fragile and near death. She took his hand as she passed away, having freed the city from the plague and vanquished Nosferatu forever. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any of our video updates.